Nolan, how are you, man?
Another day in paradise.
I know, right? Good to see you.
Chef Mark Anthony Staha, welcome to Newsom Vineyards.
Thank you, brother. Well, hey, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to do this little interview. I'm going to call this one From Farm to Glass to Table, man. So actually, we're going to call it From Farm to Bottle to Table. Today I'm interviewing Nolan Newsom from Newsom Vineyards out in Comfort, Texas. We're here in Tomball. If you're in Tomball this weekend, they're having the German Festival, but his wine tasting room will be open. And it's the Blue Bonnet Tasting Room, correct? Mm-hmm. Excellent.
401 Commerce Street, easy to find, right in the middle of town.
There you go, 401 Commerce. And and if you want to have some good barbecue, he's wines at Tejas Barbecue as well. Some really good stuff. Thanks for interviewing meeting with me to interview today. I guess Texas is just kind of coming around for learning about new wine. One of the latest videos I posted online was, yes, Texas makes good wine, and I truly believe that. Texas is kind of coming around for winemaking. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely. It's grown immensely in the last 20 years alone, but there's been wine in Texas a lot longer than most people realize as well.
About how long?
The first wine grapes planted in North America were planted in El Paso by the Spanish missionaries in 1560.
And that grape was the black
Spanish,
yes.
As far as we know.
Yeah, as far as we know. It's a bit of a hybrid. I think we talked about that earlier. Great. So, we all learn about these great farmers in California and France and these great chateaus, and Texas has got a lot. Where you were young on the block here, we're coming around. We've got a lot of good knowledge coming in here and opening wineries and growing grapes and making wine. But you've been doing this a long time. Your family's been doing this for how long now?
They planted the first wine grapes 39 years ago, the year I was born, so I can conveniently keep tracks. I'm one of 4 people that can say third generation grape grower in Texas.
Yeah. And Newsom Vineyards is known for their fruit. You're in a really great place in Texas.
We're known for our low yields and high quality. We're in the Texas High Plains, where 80% of all the wine grapes in Texas are located. Because there's no trees, so there's no birds, no deer, so no deer fencing, no raccoons, so no trapping, shooting, hot wiring. It's a desert, so no humidity, so almost no disease pressure. We spray the day that it rains, and that's not really a joke, because it's very dry.
Right.
We trade all of those problems for late freezes and hailstorms. The rest of Texas has all of those other problems plus late freezes and hailstorms. Not that they can't grow wine grapes, but it's very, very hard.
Right. And so those would be the problems. What have you enjoyed about being a grape grower and of the up and coming Texas AVAs?
The fun part of the industry is the people you meet.
Right.
It's the people that make it worth it, for sure.
And you went to college as a geologist.
Well, geophysics and meteorology, that's what I studied at Texas Tech.
And so that's the weather patterns and...
If I was going to be using my degree, it would be in the oil field somewhere.
Okay.
Because I couldn't escape the farm fast enough.
Right. It's but you're back in it. That's usually how it ends up, right? So you're back in it, and you're a pretty knowledgeable guy. I mean, you've taught me a lot of stuff, and we come from 2 different big backgrounds, but
I got talked into going back to the vineyard and being the vineyard manager after college and planted my own vineyard. And a car accident 13 years ago kind of redirected that path. Started making some wine. Was making wine before that, but started making wine for the Newsom Vineyards label after that with a purpose. So 3 years later, after all that mess, when I opened the first tasting room in Comfort, 9 years ago now, I had 2 whites and 2 reds to be able to have a tasting of 4 wines.
And what were the 2 whites and 2 reds?
Let's see, Pinot Grigio, dry orange muscat, Laverne's Merlot, and an Inception red blend.
Yeah, that Inception's lovely. So I contacted you because the orange wines is like this new thing's coming. It's been coming around for a while, just really trying to get traction. I think Italy's doing it, and up in the Friuli region with Pinot Grigio, and so I'm seeing a lot of that. And me being a white wine lover, my sister works at Tejas Barbecue, and she shot me the picture of her menu, and she says, "What do you think?" And I was all like, "Show me a picture of that orange muscat. It's a skin contacted orange muscat." And it was you. And so, how'd that come about? I mean, I mean, the only one I know that's doing it in Texas that I know about, and it's the only good one anyway, but you probably know others.
There's been others that have tried. It's just very uncommon. It's an Eastern European style of winemaking that's gaining popularity around the world.
Quick.
And as the saying goes, orange is the new pink. There used to not be any rosé 30 years ago, and
Right.
now it's the #1 selling wine in the world. So go figure.
Yeah. I think orange is the orange wine's the new rosé. I really think that. I think that's gonna happen. And I found your skin contacted orange skin contact fermented orange muscat. Isn't that what you
Skin
said?
fermented orange muscat.
Okay, got it. Let's talk about that process a little bit, how that came about, and what made you want to do it, and because it's like I love it, and like I had to find you for that. So tell me how that whole thing came about. Let's go into that a little bit.
I was probably just getting back into the wine business when I was 21, 22, 23, and I'd hear about orange style wines from other parts of the world and ask people about them, like, how are they? Like, oh, they're disgusting. You would never do that on purpose. I'm like, but why not? It's like, well, that's how they traditionally make it in Eastern Europe, and they bury it with the stems and the seeds and everything, so it picks up all the bitter tannins out of the stems and seeds and skins. And it's a very bitter wine. It's like a wine that you've dumped a whole bunch of Angostura bitters in when it's traditionally made. Key word. So my first experimental batch of it was in 2016. I did a skin fermented Pinot Grigio fermented on the skins the whole way. Traditional. It was in a puncheon barrel on the leaves and the stems and everything for 6 months. Pressed it off, left it in the barrel for another year to smooth it out. So it took 18 months. Which is on the low end for my standards on a red, and the wine was so tannic it would blow your face off. And the only people that liked it, of course, put it on the tasting sheet for fun. It was a novelty. The only people that liked it were whiskey drinkers that want a whiskey old-fashioned full of Angostura bitters. And that's how that first vintage went. But that was the first experimental, and to see how it went. And traditionally made, it was unpalatable to a wine drinker. Palatable to a whiskey drinker, not my customer base.
Right.
So a couple of years later, after being able to have that in the tasting room and see where it was going, ran some more trials. We grow three white varietals of Newsom Vineyards, Alvarinho, Pinot Grigio, and Orange Muscat. So decided to do experimental with all 3 of those, but do it to my red wine protocols, which is fermented on the skins, press off, smooth out as needed in barrel. So I had some small batch wines that were available to Wine Club only on those first 3 experimentals, and the skin fermented Pinot Grigio and the skin fermented Orange Muscat were very good and very different, unique wines. And the Alvarinho just kind of was a cloudy wine, didn't have any different flavor, it didn't matter. So didn't try it again with that one and turned the skin fermented Orange Muscat and Pinot Grigio into full production wines, which for me is about 100 cases. That's a lot to me,
Yeah,
being a very small producer.
Exactly. And the one that I tasted, this one that we're having here, was what year?
2020.
So that's the one I tasted, and
That was the first full production version of that.
And that came out in 2022, 23?
Fall of 22.
22. Okay, so you let it mature for a year and a half, 2 years.
It was about 14 months aging and smoothing out because the tannins neutral.
Neutral.
All of my wines are done in neutral. So I don't want to impart any oak tannins into the wine, but they still get the evaporation loss through the pores of the wood. And with 14 months, you've lost roughly 8 to 10% of the volume. And when that water is evaporating through the wood, the tannins are sticking to the side of the barrel. So with racking, which is where you take the wine out of the barrel and rinse the wine, it smooths out the tannins because you're pulling those tannins off the barrel. More tannins can stick.
Right.
So that's part of the smoothing process, and that's also a choice, not a requirement. But that's what my red wine protocols are, rack quarterly to smooth out the tannins in the wine so they're smooth and fruit forward. So that's what I did with those experimental skin fermented wines.
And so you basically treated the white wine like a red wine.
But only for 18 months, where my high-end reds are 30, 34 months.
Sure.
But white wines, even skin fermented whites, are not as tannic as a red no matter what you do because they're just different.
There is some skin tannin in the whites, but not a whole lot.
Not like you would expect.
No.
And every grape is different. Some of the varieties add completely different qualities. In fact, there's a lot of red wines made now that they put some white grape must or white grapes into the bin at fermentation to pull out some of those tannins. Because you get some better color and tannin extraction from the reds, having a little bit of white in it.
So it pulls out the tannins, yeah, it draws it. Interesting.
So there's all kinds of stuff happening in that part. All over the world, people are learning. And that's the best part with my generation and below. We don't necessarily want what our parents wanted.
Right. Do you see a market? Do you see a market for that to grow? I mean, these skins
Sure.
really to grow here.
I absolutely think it will, but it's people. I can't even say my age, 30 and younger, that come in and go, "You have an orange style wine. I would love to taste that." It's like, "Can I see your ID?" It's not the older, more mature clientele
Right.
that comes in asking for something unique. They want their Sangiovese, Merlot, their Cab. They could care less if it's the best thing in the world. They don't want to taste it. They're not the customer base that's going to taste something new. Or somebody of my generation or younger, it's like, I don't want the same thing twice. I want something different every time.
Yeah, I want to try.
I
something
want every
new.
time to be an experience.
Yes, it shouldn't be like that though. I mean, it's good to have those customers, and they're solid customers to have, and
Sure.
the ones that like what they like and they don't like anything else. But when it comes to wine, it's like I posted this one time online. It's like if you're a person that likes hamburgers, but you like to go to this place for a burger and this place for a burger and this place for a burger, and you like all three of the burgers, but you like them for very different reasons, and you're going to eat them for very, very different times of the year. Well, wine's kind of like that, just a little bit on another scale, or bougie, or whatever you want to look at it, but it really is.
Absolutely.
So why put it? I'm curious why some people just don't want to, get outside their comfort zone on wine. I find that odd.
There's a place for every wine.
You're right, and we need them all, right? Wine
And you as a chef can understand that.
Yes, true.
It's like, give me the driest wine or the sweetest wine, and I can put a food with it.
Or the rare steak or the well done steak, which breaks my
Any
heart.
above.
You also did the Pinot Grigio. Now, a lot of people don't know that, but Pinot Grigio is essentially a red grape-ish. But
In Italian, it means little gray one, because in Italy, where they can hit 22 or 23 bricks, which is percent sugar maturity, it has a gray tint or a little bit of color to it.
yeah, there's a color coming in there.
In the Texas High Plains, where we can hit full ripeness, meaning 24 or 25% sugar or bricks, it colors up fully red and looks like Pinot Noir.
Yeah, so that's what I want to talk about, America. So here in Texas, so you should have seen this skin contact fermented Pinot Grigio. It looked like
Looks like a rosé.
It looks like a very dark rosé, but it was a very dark rose colored, and it